Hey, everybody. Okay, so I wanted to come on and do this live about accessing the genius within you, which is, in other words, the art of inquiry and what that really means. The true power of inquiry you have available to you right now. Okay, so in my work with clients, one of the big goals that we are working on, that they're developing via the work, is their capacity to inquire into their own experience with the right quality of inquiry so that they actually get the answers they want. Now, answers is kind of not necessarily the best word here, but I'll just use it for now. Okay, so now I want to give some examples about what this looks like, what it looks like to inquire in a productive way and what it looks like to inquire in an unproductive way. And before I do that, I just want to say a little bit more about what it means to access your genius. Okay, so accessing your own genius is your capacity to move yourself forward along your evolutionary path. In other words, to look at where in your life are you dissatisfied and to find the answers in terms of resolving that dissatisfaction. Now, as you do that for yourself, you are able to do that for others more so. So that's partially what I mean by genius. But basically, your capacity to access unique insight based on your present moment situation and the whole evolution of your life. Okay, so what? Okay, well, let me say this next. When we are in a genuine state of inquiry, that includes curiosity and honesty about what is present for us right now. So let me think if I can think of an example. Okay, so for me right now, one of my areas of glitch, of dissatisfaction, is around the way I manage my time. I still find myself in moments. I just had a moment today where I just had this very, very relaxed quality. You know, it's the weekend, and I think it's partially because it's the weekend, and I allowed myself to rest into this space a little bit more. Hey, Stephen. Okay, I'm curious. Let me know if anything comes up for you here, and if you have any questions or what resonates. And then what I realized out of that is, okay, what I desire and what I'm not satisfied with in my reality yet is that I'm not in this quality all of the time. I'm still allowing myself to get into moments throughout my day and week of like a little bit of pressure. Now, way better than ever before in my life. Like I'm not working 16-hour days. I'm taking breaks during the day. I have a great deal more trust and respect in rest and not doing than distraction than before. So that's great. That's wonderful. And there's a next level here for me in terms of releasing another, and also as my schedule gets more full, right? As I have things that I truly want, dance and performance, lots of clients, right? As these things thrive, they start to fill my time. I let them fill my time. And so, okay, it's a new level or whatever. Glad you've got your listening ears on, Stephen. Okay, so then for me, my inquiry and curiosity, I get to engage with this area of dissatisfaction in my life with the perspective of, okay, I know that I can, quote unquote, win here. I know that I get to have what I want, which is a more relaxed feeling tone as I move through my week with all of the pieces still in. What does that look like? So I guess the inquiry begins knowing that it is a possibility, and so many of us cut ourselves off from it with this unconscious idea that no, it's not possible. There is no limit to what is possible, and it might sound trite, but it is not. There is no limit to what is possible, and when we truly open into it and truly inquire as to the how, that is how we bring it into our reality, right? And I'm not saying like, ooh, I want this thing, and I'm just gonna hold it as a gentle question in a kind of childlike not taking responsibility for the thing kind of way, right? Like the inquiry, as well as I'll speak to the qualities, the kind of feeling tone of the inquiry that's necessary in a moment, but I want to complete this point. We also need to be willing to take the action that's going to make it happen, right? So in my case, that probably means shortening some of my client calls. And part of me is like, oh, do I really want to do that? Am I taking away from them? Am I, right? So I need to then open to the truth that, okay, we can hit the same depth. We can have the same depth of communication if I decide we're having the same depth of communication with less time. And I get to both have those conversations where I'm setting that limit and that boundary, and then hold that limit and boundary when engaging with them. And that's the taking responsibility piece, right? That I can feel part of my system doesn't want to do, because it still kind of really likes being there for people. There's still some rescue patterns. Anyhow, let's come back to kind of, so along with that responsibility, the other qualities that we need present in order to really draw what we desire. In order to, let's say this first, in order to have the insights necessary to transform our inner world and landscape, the way we're relating to what we want, in a way that is meaningful, so that we can then draw that outer reality into existence. So okay, so this is where curiosity comes in, and there's a lot of different tones to curiosity, and some are useful and some are not. So I'm just gonna paint some of the pictures of the tones of curiosity that are not so helpful, right? This is when we're like actually just kind of pretending to ask the question. But we're not really asking the question at all, probably because we don't want to know the answer. Probably because it's going to be at least a little bit emotionally uncomfortable, and it's going to mean we're going to have to then engage in our reality in a way that is emotionally uncomfortable for us. So tones that are not helpful. This one, I don't know. The like, I don't know, that is really like, I don't know, that is actually basically shouting. It's not, I don't have the answer. What is it? It's like, I'm just going to affirm and shout loudly and be frustrated at the fact that I don't know, right? So, I've been there, which is why I am laughing. And it's okay to have moments of that. And we get to move ourselves. We get to be like, hang on, why am I yelling at reality right now when I can engage with it from a totally different, way more constructive energy? So that's one. The other one is the like very innocent child. I don't know. What is it? I don't know. Which is denying the fact that the answers are right there and available to you when you really energetically are asking for them, right? So, and there's a few ways in which we can, in which we truly enter, or a few things that are important in terms of that. What is that actual energetic ask? How do you actually ask your current reality what is needed to transform and get the answer? So, okay, so what's required for that is that genuine space of curiosity, a space of, okay, I don't know, and yet I know I can know. So being willing to know is an important part of the process. So you first get to notice, am I actually willing to know? And with what tone am I asking or inquiring into this challenge? So that then once we're in a place, and it's not actually necessarily so step-by-step chronological, but I'm just going to present it this way. So then once we're actually in a space of, okay, this isn't quite what I want it to be. I know the answers in terms of how to move it into what I want it to be are right here. I don't see them yet, but they are accessible to me. By law, they are accessible to you right now, if you are fully willing to know. Okay, that's just universal law. And if you're not knowing, then part of you is in denial or not wanting to know. Okay, so that's also very good to be honest about. So, okay, so then I truly want to know, truly do want to know. Then the next step is to look at the pieces you do have in relation to the dynamic that you're inquiring about. So, for example, me with time, it's like, okay, well, I've got one piece of the puzzle, and it's my resistance to holding timelines and boundaries because I'm afraid I'm going to be kind of failing that person or not giving them enough, or because basically I get off, because I get off on giving, right? Ooh, that's juicy, right? See how that's a kind of uncomfortable truth for me to admit to myself? It's like, oh, wow. And so as I admit that, I also get to look at, I'm just laughing because I'm like, I'm doing this publicly, which I love, because along with the genuine inquiry, we also have to be willing to hold ourselves and whatever answers we get or other pieces we get. I'm not sure why that face, Stephen. So if you can use some words and let me know why you're making that face, tell me. Okay, and now I lost my train of thought. What was it? Oh yeah, I need to equally be not in the least holding myself in a space of judgment nor judging any of the piece of the puzzle that might present. I get to say, oh God, I get off a little bit on being there for people, on being generous, on going above and beyond. It's like, right? That's a little bit gross. There's an element of that that's a little bit gross. That part of me goes like, ooh. And yet, I get to be kind with myself and say, okay, Ruth, like, I know you're doing your best always. I know that. And, beautiful, whatever the next piece of, okay, great. Glad it's the full disclosure that you're appreciating, Stephen. I get to honor myself and wherever I am at. And unless you are fully willing to be, to hold whatever ugly piece of the puzzle that comes up that you see via the inquiry, because if there's a glitch, there probably is shame or past wounding and or internalized messages of my value is connected with me showing up in this way, and if I don't, I'm a piece of shit to some degree, right? Well, not to some degree. When we're holding those beliefs, they really run deep and they're really that extreme, right? So it's my responsibility to not judge myself. And it's everyone's responsibility to not judge yourself as you go through this process of inquiry. And judgment is it's just going to shut down the whole process. So there needs to be full willingness to be present to yourself emotionally without making yourself wrong for anything that you're going to see or that comes up for you. So that's very important. So that genuine curiosity, true curiosity, not fake curiosity that's actually saying, I don't want to know. That that non-judgmental, that okay, probably one or two of the pieces of this puzzle are going to bring up hurt or shame or some feeling tone that is really mother effing unpleasant, and I'm committed to honoring that and caring for myself through that, no matter what. Those are key ingredients. Then the third is, yeah, we get to look at the pieces of a puzzle and connect the dots to see what we need to see in order to shift the reality towards what you want it to be. So there, it's a beautiful one for me. So then I have to implement the sucker, right? That's also hard and unpleasant, right? Then, even today on a call, yeah, that's a great question, Stephen. I'm going to come back to that. Let me complete this example, and that's a great question. I'll say it out loud here. Even on my call today, it was like we did an hour and 20 instead of an hour. And I kind of like, in my mind, I was like, no, we're going to stop at an hour. I'm going to flag at 5 minutes too, but I didn't. And so there's more for me to see here. It's like, why didn't I didn't actually make the decision that we're cutting it off, because part of me is still hooking my value and the value I deliver to kind of really being there for them. So what I need to be willing to do is make the full decision that this is the max time we're doing. And then I need to be it's going to be uncomfortable for me. I need to, even ending it when we did, I sort of felt like I was leaving her in the lurch. So I need to be okay with that feeling as well. Now I still feel like there's more here for me, but anyways, let me bring it back to you and your example. So this is an example of what it's like. You data gather, in a sense, from what you do have in your current awareness. Okay, well, I feel like this about this. I've got that one. I know I feel like this about this. What, and then to keep looking for the layers underneath. Why do I not want to end it? Because I feel like I'm going to leave her in the lurch, and she's going to be in this space of like, I need more help and I'm not going to be there for her. Oh, right. So there's still some emotional hook in me of like, a victim of like, that person can't do it on their own, or I'm somehow hurting them if I'm not there for them. So there's still, and I can feel it, there's still some emotional part of my system still believes that's true. So that means there's more healing for me to do there. So there's a few ways to move forward in that healing. I can, for one, continue to try. That is a weak statement. And yet sometimes we have to try and fail along the way to actually doing it. But I get to stay curious to how come I can't yet get to the energy of I am deciding fully feeling my system come into that full energy of decision, that I am keeping the boundary of the time, and that is serving everybody in the equation to the highest degree. So, even in saying that, I feel further along there, and yet I think there's further to go. Nonetheless, me then taking the action, engaging in the moment, getting to like 10 to 5 to observing my behavior, being present to the feelings that come up in those moments, really with greater awareness, is what gives me the leverage room to eventually actually implement different behavior. And the more I stay committed to that process, the sooner it's going to happen and the more likely it is to happen. Well, there's no question about it happening. It's a question of how quickly at this point. Okay, then I want to go to Stephen's question here because it's really brilliant. And if anybody else has questions, please ask. Okay, how does one achieve this? Or I'm realizing I should probably call you Black Cape and Crescent. How does one achieve this openness, non-judgmental space you're speaking of? Yeah, that's the $1 million question. And there's a few things to say about that. So we achieve it every time you act in alignment of honoring who you are and your desires and your truth. Was what I was going to say. I kind of want to say that separately because it's its whole own category. You build your system's trust that you are there for you. So that's one of the ways, is through moment by moment honoring of the impulses, needs, desires, truth present in you over what other people think you should do, over what even the voice, internalized voice inside says you should do, over what society is telling you should do, over like, I need to work hard, right? It's like, are you honoring your body? Are you giving yourself rest and good food? Are you, those are ways that are actually communicate very powerfully internally that this being is valuing this being, and even in small moments, that builds a momentum that establishes a sense of trust. Like coming to parent ourselves, right, is another way of saying it. Okay, so that's one component. The other component is, well, I think there's actually the component of truth that I want to speak about, and then I want to speak about this one, which is the component of building your capacity to feel uncomfortable feelings and not make yourself or the experience wrong as the discomfort of the experience arises and passes away, right? Any moment where we make our reality wrong on a very subtle level, I'll come back to that, for being what it is, we're in a subtle degree of judgment, and therefore out of our power. So, and I want to speak to the subtlety of this, and this is where the Buddhists have done a really beautiful job, is in naming this kind of the core pattern of greed or aversion, and how it's like any moment where whatever that is present in the present moment, we're either kind of subtly, no, I don't want this, even super subtly saying what is here I don't want. And it can be even like a subtle feeling in the body and a kind of tiredness or pain that we're just pushing away on. That is a subtle type of judgment. And so every time we notice that we're doing that, and we soften into, oh no, this is enough. This is the only definition of perfection that makes sense, is this moment, exactly as it is. When we can soften into that, again, we build, that's how we come into that non-judgmental space in a very profound way. And there's a lot of moments in a day, right? So the more we can do it, moment by moment by moment, and notice, when am I pushing away or grabbing on for something, right? The hatred or aversion versus greed, or so the move. It's still a way of dismissing this moment, right? Whatever mechanism we're in, we're dismissing the moment, and so that deepening that awareness, just noticing. And anytime we're in a moment of glitch or unpleasantness, we're going to be in some way doing this, like, I don't want this, on a deep, subtle, energetic level. Okay, so that's another way. And then that connects to the uncomfortable feeling. So then as I come to do that, as I come to accept the moment and myself as an aspect of this moment as it is more and more, then then I also get to have the capacity to accept bigger sequences of moments that are unpleasant, that as human beings, especially if those who we were raised by weren't comfortable with certain emotional dynamics, that tolerance is not going to be established within us yet, right? It's like, whoa, shame is an uncomfortable feeling tone. It's like, oh, totally uncomfortable. And yet we do have the capacity to just be present to it. Whoa, uncomfortable feeling tone. Let it move through and not push it away, because in pushing it away, we're cut off from the value of that emotional experience. Okay, so that. Okay. Okay, see you, Stephen. Beautiful. Then the last piece I want to speak to here is about truth. And that's another of the ways in which we build that capacity to truly hold a space of non-judgment with ourselves is by speaking one's truth in the moment as it comes, or if you miss the moment, then following up and speaking it when you can, when you decide you will, and speaking it, right? Especially in moments when you think the other person may not like what you have to say, or be jarred or shaken or whatever by what you have to say. The more you are willing to do that anyways, that sends a deep message internally that you are there for you, and you're honoring this system, the system that is you, which again deepens the trust to open into uncomfortable places, because it's going to be held and respected and then communicated out to others, which repeats the cycle in a really positive way. Okay, so that's a long that's a long spiel on the art of accessing genius and the art of inquiry, or how to access your genius and the art of inquiry. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. You can comment or message me or PM me in whatever capacity you want. Okay, bye for now. Have a beautiful rest of your weekends.